What's up, affordable Armory folks? How y'all doing? Today I'm going to do a video on this gun right here. This is the Beretta M9, and just for the fun of it, we're going to compare it to this gun right here. This is the EAA Girsan Regard MC. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Quick note before we get into the video, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button so you can find out when future videos come out. If you're not watching this video the day it comes out, then you can go ahead and skip forward to the review portion. But I wanted to take a minute and talk about today. It's Memorial Day. You can see I'm wearing one of my TACP Memorial shirts. It's got the black line. That's their line in recognition of the fallen. This is from my time in service with the TACPs. And so anyways, if you got time today, please take a few minutes and remember those who have fallen. They gave the ultimate sacrifice so that you and I could be here to enjoy the freedoms that we do. So that's something that's very important to me, having served in the military, as well as that's one of the reasons why I exercise the freedoms I do, such as buying guns. So just take a few minutes out of your day and try and remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice so that you and I can be here to enjoy the things that we do today. Let's head over to the workbench and we'll talk about these guns. Let's start off with why am I comparing these two guns in particular? Well, because one, the Girsan here is a clone of the Beretta. You can right off the bat, if you couldn't tell, they're basically identical guns. There's a few minor differences. But two, they're right around the same price point, and I'll caveat that. This is a used M9. I got it for around $400. It was a little over $400 actually, after taxes and transfer fees and stuff. But yeah, I ordered this on Gunbroker. You can get them new for right around $500. I've seen them that low, more like $560, $570, somewhere around there on average. The Girsan, brand new, $400 on Gunbroker all day long. Sometimes you can get them for cheaper than that. So you got a brand new Beretta style gun versus a used Beretta style gun, both for around $400. So right off the bat, there's your price and affordability comparison. Now the Beretta came with 3 magazines, but you can see, again, this being a used gun, these are clearly surplus magazines. I mean, they don't even have the same base plate on them. They're very, very used. I mean, look how well worn those magazines are. This magazine actually looks fairly new. It's still got that, it might even be like a newer generation, but it's still got that coating on it. You know, it's not worn out. Just look at the coloring differences there. Coloration. So yeah, it may even be a different generation of mag. But anyway, I ordered this gun and it came with 3 magazines, and those are the 3 magazines. The Girsan came with 1 magazine. However, it is an 18-round magazine, so keep that in mind. And this 18-round magazine will work in this gun, so that's kind of cool. So that covers capacity. They're the same. 18 rounds, 15 rounds, it depends on the magazine that you're using. So next up we'll go to accuracy, and I'll roll some footage of me shooting these guns. Okay, there you go. There's the comparison of the two guns. On the left is the Beretta M9, and on the right is the Girsan Regard MC. I mean, both are very much acceptable groups. I like this one a lot better because it's more centered. This one is a little low and to the left, which is what you would expect shooting a gun that you hadn't shot before. I mean, I take that back. I've shot the M9 plenty of times, and I'll get into that here in just a second. But yeah, I like this group better just because it's placed better. But you can see, I mean, the shots are grouping together. They're just not where I want I want the group to be up there. So not too bad. Winner, Girsan. So back to the guns. Next up is reliability. Well, as far as reliability, it's hard to do better than a Beretta M9. I mean, this gun has been the sidearm of choice for the U.S. military for I don't know how long, since the mid-'80s. So very, very long time. And obviously they've switched recently to the 6-hour P320. That transition is still happening as far as I know. I guarantee there are still units out there with the Beretta M9 pistol. Guarantee it. As far as reliability, these things are tanks. I mean, they just go and go and go. They've got the open top design. It's designed so that if debris gets in there, it comes right back out. It's a heavy metal design. I mean, these things are weighty, and yeah, they just run and run and run. Now, on the note of reliability, I got a funny story here. When I was in the Air Force, I was shooting the M9 at the range one day, and this happened. Now, if y'all don't know what that is, I'll show you here in just a second. That is the locking block, and it's a pretty important part. So you can see that it's sheared completely. And what happened is I was at the range shooting, and it died. Like the slide was stuck, and I was thinking, you know, I just had a jam or whatever, and I went to go clear it, and I went to rack the slide, and it was stuck. It wouldn't move, and I was like, what in the world is happening? So I raised my hand, and my armor kind of laughed at me like, sure, like you got a problem, whatever. And I was like, no, seriously, come help me. And so he comes over and he's like, did you break my gun? And I'm like, yeah, I think I did. Yeah, so that's ended up, he gave me his sidearm to finish out the range day. And then later on, he gave this to me as kind of a trophy to take home. So yes, I did break his gun. So the thing about those guns, though, is, and the reason I never liked them, someone once told me this, is the reason I didn't like it is it's not my gun. Those guns have been issued to God knows how many soldiers or airmen. And it had, you know, hundreds of thousands of rounds through it, probably. I don't know. Maybe not that many, but you get what I'm saying. It's been shot and shot and shot and shot and shot. It was a well-worn gun. And obviously, if the locking block is cracking, then you know, it's a well-worn gun. So that's the reason that I didn't like it, according to this person. And so I finally broke down and was like, you know what? I'm going to buy one. This is my gun, and I will learn to love it. And especially after, if you've seen my other Beretta video, the Tennessee edition, I love that gun. Absolutely love it. It's such a joy to shoot. And then shooting this one, if you go back and watch my shooting footage of the video I did on this gun, and I was like, holy crap, this gun is amazing. And so I was like, all right, I think it's time to get a Beretta M9. Anyway, sorry for being long-winded today, but as far as reliability of the Girsan, you know, I can't really say it has the history of the Beretta, but in my experience shooting it, it's been reliable. So there is that. I would say winner Beretta for sure, but I haven't had any issues with the Girsan. So let's get into ergonomics and feel. For the most part, they're the same. Like I said, this is a Beretta clone gun. I believe they use the same grips. I haven't verified that, but they look pretty much the same. You can see the M9 uses these special screws here. They're I think they're a hex head, versus the standard 92 series uses a flathead screw, just like these right here. That's one of the differences if you're wondering between the M9 variant versus the standard 92. Another one is the back strap is a little different. You can see this kind of goes straight up like this, whereas on the 92 series there's there's like a little indentation to get you a little bit more purchase with your grip. It's hard to explain visually, but picture there's like a little indentation there, just a hair more. And then one more difference would be the shape of the trigger guard. It's yeah, it's a little different on the 92 series. But aside from that, the differences ergonomically between these two guns are very minor. They have the same controls, as you can see, the same safety selector, the hammer, pretty much identical, except the Girsan, I believe, is skeletonized, or not skeletonized, but you can see has some material removed from it. The slide serrations are a little bit different. They're not as many on the Girsan. They're a little wider. I haven't really noticed that being an issue at all, but just one thing to note. And then obviously the Girsan has a rail, whereas the standard Beretta does not. The M9A3 does have a rail. It's only 3 sections, not 4. The M9A1 had a single rail section. So there are versions of this gun that have a rail, if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to mount a light or something like that, a laser, whatever. Let's look at the sights. You can see the standard M9 sights are 2 white dots. So you kind of put one dot on top of the other in the notch, whereas the Girsan has your standard 3 dots. And if you get a Beretta 92 series, that's what you're going to get, is the 3 dots, versus the M9. This is the style that you get. So again, one of the minor differences between this and the 92 series. The front sights on both of these guns are not removable. You would have to mill that out in order to change the front sight. The rear sights are removable, I believe. So if you wanted to change out a rear sight, you could, but the front sights you're kind of stuck with unless you want to do some machining. That's about it for ergonomics. Oh, and except for the finger grooves here on the Girsan, which some people may have an issue with. I have not. They feel just fine to me. They're there, and my fingers sit in them. You know, if you have different sized fingers, maybe that'll bug you. But for me, it has not been an issue. So there you go. There's some of the similarities and differences ergonomically. Let's take a look at the insides just for the heck of it. Why not? So to disassemble, going to lock the slide to the rear. And on this side, you'll have a little button right there. Press that button and turn this lever down. And then pull your slide, let it go forward, and the slide will come off. So you'll have your frame there. And you'll have your slide here. You're going to take the recoil spring and guide rod out, and then you're going to take the barrel out, and there you go. Talked about this earlier, my broken locking block. That's this part right here. So I'll put the broken piece down so you can see it. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like, and you can see without that other piece of metal, it's probably not going to work right. All right, so to take down the Girsan, it's pretty much the same thing. You've got that button there. You're going to press that in and spin this lever here. That slide comes right off. Set the frame aside. You're going to pull out your recoil spring and guide rod. Set that over there. And then Pull out your barrel. There you go. Voila. So let's do some comparisons there. First of all, you got the slides here, and on the outside they look basically the same. We already talked about the different slide serrations. The front looks the same. Sides look the same. Slides basically the same. In my left hand I've got the Beretta recoil spring and guide rod, and you can see that it is a plastic guide rod with the spring, whereas the Girsan comes with a metal guide rod and spring. I'm not sure what the weights are on these springs. I'm sure they're comparable. I think people worry too much about these guide rods. I took a Glock Armorer's class, and I guess this probably doesn't apply across the board to all pistols, but he was talking about how people like to replace the plastic guide rod in the Glock with the tungsten guide rods and stuff like that. And these guns are made to run the way they come from the factory, and so when you do modifications like that, you're messing with millions of rounds of testing and very specific physics, and it's dumb, guys. Don't do it. I don't understand why people swap stuff out like that. It's unnecessary. These guns were made to run the way they come, like this. And so this one came with a metal guide rod. Whoop-de-doo. I don't care. This one has a plastic guide rod. This is what was in my military M9. It's what's been used for 30-some years. I mean, who cares? It's not important, guys. Don't make such a big deal about the guide rods. Anyway, what I learned in that armorer's class was that this thing could break in half and it wouldn't matter. The guide rod is there literally to keep the recoil spring in place. So if this thing snaps, who gives a crap? It will still run. So it's not important. This thing is plastic and it doesn't matter. All right, so on my right is the Girsan barrel, and on my left is the Beretta barrel. Now you can see they are very much similar. The length of the barrel, pretty much the same. Now we've already gone over the external similarities and differences on the frame. Let's look at the internals. Here's where you can see some differences. Again, that locking block, just shape, the dimensions are just a little bit different. You can see like this part right here is a hair further back. Everything actually just a hair further back, including the rear is even just a hair further back. Just minor dimensional changes. But it's still basically the same gun. So not identical, but very similar. To reassemble the Beretta, you're gonna drop your barrel down in, make sure it goes in the hole. It's sitting flush. Take your recoil spring and guide rod, stick that in the hole, put it in place right there. And you're gonna take your frame, slide it onto the rails, pull it all the way back, lock it to the rear, push this lever, send the slide forward, and we'll take the safety off, press it, and it's good to go. Seems to be functioning. Safety on, nothing. Safety off, bang. Safety on, safety off, bang. We're good. It's working. And very much the same on the Regard. You're gonna drop your barrel in there, make sure that it's seated right, and we're gonna take the recoil spring and guide rod, put it in the hole, make sure it's in place, line up the slide rails, slide it on all the way to the rear, lock it open, press this tab here, which is a lot stiffer on this, but it might be because it's a new gun. Over time that might wear in, but send the slide forward, and we'll do the same test. Safety on, no trigger, safety off, press, it works. Cock the hammer, try single action, boom. Let's try out the trigger pulls and compare that for a second. So we'll start with the Beretta here.
Double action. That says 8 pounds, 5.7 ounces. Ready? 8 pounds, 4 ounces. 7 pounds, 8.8 ounces. 9 pounds, 1.3 ounces. And 7.07 ounces.
For an average of 8 pounds, 1 ounce. That is actually really light for a factory Beretta trigger. So again, I got this gun used. I don't know if the person who owned it before me had some work done on the trigger and got it reduced that way, or if that's just some years of wear and break-in and made it lighter. But it's usually more around the 10 to 12 pound range, and so that's that. Let's do the Girsan here.
8 pounds, 9.6 ounces. 10 pounds, 0.5 ounces. 9 pounds, 6.2 ounces. 9 pounds, 2.7 ounces. There's no way that was 5 pounds. 9 pounds, 2.3.
For an average of, it's actually probably higher than that. But you get the idea. I would say it was more like 9.5 pounds on average, or just over 9 pounds. Let's do the single action on both pistols. Go ahead and cock the hammer. Ready.
2 pounds, 6.7 ounces. Yeah, there we go. 4 pounds, 4 ounces. 3 pounds, 2.2 ounces. 3 pounds, 4.7 ounces. 2 pounds, 12.4 ounces.
For an average of 3 pounds, 2.1 ounces. Again, lighter than I expected. I don't know. It might just be, again, well used, or it might be, might have had trigger work done on it. I don't know. That's lighter than I would have expected. Do the Girsan.
2 pounds, 7.4 ounces. 2 pounds, 4.8 ounces. 2 pounds, 4.6 ounces. 1 pound, 14.4 ounces, goodness. 2 pounds, 8.4.
For an average of 2 pounds, 4.7 ounces. Take that for what you will. You know, I'm no expert by any means, and I'm not a scientist either. So you saw me measuring the trigger weight with the gauge, and those are the numbers that I got. Your experience may vary. So this definitely came in lighter than I thought at 3 pounds on the single action and 8.5 to 9 pounds on the double action, and this one was 2.5 to 3 on the single action and right around 9 pounds on the double action. I would think a brand new Beretta is probably going to be more like 5 pounds on the single action and 10 to 12 pounds on the double action. Now, as far as how they feel on the Girsan, that's your take up. That's it. That's all your take up, and then from there it's a long heavy press. Single action, we'll cock it. That's all take up right there. You got quite a bit of take up on the single action, and then nice clean break. It does make a pingy sound if you didn't notice. It's kind of funny. And on the Beretta, your double action, even less. That's it right there. That's all you got. And then it's nice and smooth but heavy. Your single action, there's your take up. It's probably a little bit less than on the Girsan. And then nice clean break. And I don't know. I think the Beretta is a little bit smoother, but it could also be because it's a used gun. It may just be worn in. It may have had some work done on it. The Girsan is just, it's decent. It feels like what a double action trigger should feel like. It doesn't have any play in it that I can feel. It doesn't feel gritty. It's smooth. It's just a little heavy, but not really any heavier. It actually might be even lighter than the Beretta. So, purpose of these guns. Well, I bought the M9 for nostalgia reasons. Again, I had an M9 when I was in the Air Force. I hated it. Absolutely hated that gun. But I've always kind of wanted one because, again, as I mentioned earlier, that wasn't my gun. It was a gun that had been issued to who knows how many people and had probably hundreds of thousands of rounds fired through it. Whereas this one is mine. You know, there are many like it, but this one is mine. Seriously though, that's how I feel about it. I bought it for nostalgia purposes, and that's about it. I probably would not recommend this gun for someone as an all-purpose pistol or a go-to carry pistol. You absolutely can carry this, preferably in an outside the waistband holster. You could carry it inside the waistband, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to be heavy because it's all metal. I personally, like I said, would not recommend it as a carry gun. And because of the sight situation, with this being a fixed front sight and then the rear sight is interchangeable, but I can't recommend this for like a home defense pistol either, because you kind of want night sights on that, and for that matter, you want night sights on your carry gun. So I don't recommend it. As well as the manual of arms, being a double action, single action gun, it's a little bit different than your striker fired gun. Those are much simpler to operate. These require training, I think, to fully master them. Same goes for the Girsan. I really just bought it because cheap Beretta, basically. I wanted to know, is it as good as a regular Beretta? And from my experience so far, absolutely, 100%, it's as good as this pistol right here. You get a little bit more features with the Picatinny rails and the finger grooves. The sights are basically the same as I already mentioned. So again, this is a range toy, guys. I'm not gonna recommend this for carry. You could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to recommend it. Home defense gun, I guess, if you want to mount a light on there, you could. It's not for me though. This is a range toy. This is a just to have gun, just for the fun of it. Same with this. This is nostalgia, and that's the purpose of these guns. If you want to buy either of these guns and use them for home defense or concealed carry, 100% you could. I just don't recommend it. They're not even in my top 10 or 15 list of guns that I would recommend for that purpose. Overall rating, I would say the M9, as much as I hated this gun in the military, now that I have one and it's mine, it's kind of meaningful. So I'm going to declare this one the winner. I'll rate it like a 7 out of 10, I guess. It's not going to be my favorite pistol. My Tennessee edition is absolutely my favorite pistol right now. But this one is, it's decent. Again, I pick it up and I'm like, yep, I remember that every time. Every time. It's just like it belongs in my hand because I've shot it so many times. The Girsan, I'd say it's a 5 or a 6 out of 10, maybe. It's 1.5 thumbs up. It's a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know. Pick a rating system. There you go. It's average. How about that? It's an average gun. It shoots well. It's been reliable. It's got some decent features. It's just heavy, so I wouldn't recommend concealed carry with it. And because of the sights, I wouldn't recommend it for home defense either. Yeah, there you go. The winner in this case is the M9. Nostalgia. It's going to win every time. So there you go. There's a comparison between the Beretta M9 and the Girsan Regard MC. I really like both pistols, but I had to pick a winner, so I picked the M9. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and you'll get notifications for when future videos come out. As always, head over to affordable-armory.com. That's where the blog lives. That's where all of our social media links are. That's where all of our affiliate links are, so you can save yourself some money on something you were going to buy anyway. And you can also pick up some merch there, just like this fancy hat. We've got t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, all kinds of stuff. So thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.